Hello dear friend, you are welcome again. Alright, so quickly in this video I'm going to show how to practically do continuity test on an electrical wiring. Alright, so continuity test in itself, as the name implies, has to do with checking if a wire or a conductor is continuous and without any break. Okay, so that is basically what continuity test helps us to find out. And then we can also use the same continuity test to find out or to check the polarity of the wires in the wiring. All right, so polarity check or polarity test helps us to ensure that all the cables that run in the wiring are connected at the right terminals. So for instance, as you can see in the video, these are switch boxes or conduit boxes. So here in these boxes, we have some of the wires that run from the distribution board to the box, and then we have other wires that run from the box to the fans and the lights. Okay, so here we are actually doing polarity check by means of continuity test, or we are using the continuity test method to check the polarities of the cables in the boxes. All right, so the cable that runs from the consumer unit to the box is the feed, and then the one that runs from the box to the light is the switch wire. The same thing applies to the fans also. Okay, but the main reason why we have to do this test is to make sure that we are able to identify every single wire in the box. You know, sometimes you do the wiring and then you are not able to immediately fix the accessories and the lights. Okay, after the wiring, the ceiling has to be done or POP has to be done before the final connection of the lights and the fans. Okay, in the process of constructing the ceiling or in the process of uh, doing the POP, sometimes if the person doing the POP or the ceiling does not have basic knowledge of electrical wiring, sometimes they misplace some of the switch wires. Okay, so there is a switch wire that is intended for a particular light, but at the end of the day, after the POP or after the sealing, the positions of those switch wires can change. Okay, so at the time that you are going to do your final connection of the accessories, you still have to make sure that there is a feed in that switch box and there is also a switch wire that connects from the box to the very lighting point that you intend it to be. And we can check this by means of the continuity testing method. All right, so basically all the wires are together. Sometimes we do mark the wires to show that this is a feed and this is a switch wire. But usually in large installations where you would have many switch wires running from the switch boxes, in certain cases you would also have strappers or travelers which move from one switch box to another switch box. All right, so before we fix the switches and then the lamps finally, we have to ascertain, we have to make sure that the switch wire from a particular switch box is exactly going to the particular lamp that it has been assigned for. Now, in one of my videos, I explained and demonstrated how to do continuity test. And so if you are not familiar with how to do the continuity test, you can refer to that video. It's right under the description of this very video. You can refer to it, learn how to set your meter for continuity test, and then how to set the probes. All right. Now, the real deal here is that when doing continuity test, we need to get access to both ends of the wires that we are testing. So if we are checking the continuity, or if we want to make sure that a switch wire from this box is going to a particular lamp, we need to get the beginning of that switch wire from the box, and then we also need to get the end of that switch wire at where the lamp will be, that is at the ceiling. Because we need access to the beginning and the end of each wire, what you do is that if you intend to check where the live or the switch wire in this particular lighting point is located in the switch box, you would have to extend this switch wire with another wire and send it closer to the switch box. Okay, so you are extending the end of the switch wire here with another wire, and then bring it closer to the switch box so that one probe will connect to the beginning of the switch wire, and then the other can easily reach to the end of the wire. Now, if you do the test and then the wire is continuous, then that tells you that that particular wire is the switch wire for that particular lighting point. So here we are doing a test. We don't know which of these wires is going to the top there. So we'll attach an extension to the end of the switch wire at the lighting point up there, and then bring it closer to the switch box. So we'll check all the wires in these switch boxes just to be able to identify which of them is going to that particular lighting point. And then if we are done, we will also do same from the switch box to the consumer unit to be able to identify which of these wires here are coming from the consumer unit as feed. And as I explained in the previous video on basic load calculation, there are times that the wires here can have as many as 3 or more feed from the consumer unit, depending on the size and number of loads that will be installed in this particular space. So in case you are not able to easily identify which of the wires are coming from the consumer unit and which of them are going to the lighting and the fan, then the best way to identify them is to do continuity test. If you're able to do this test properly and you have fixed your switches and your lights and your fans, if any of those lights or those fans are not working, you are now sure that it is not as a result of your wiring, but it could be as a result of the load or the particular lamp or the particular fan that you are fixing. So by the time you finish fixing your switches, your sockets, your lights, and your fans, you would have already done polarity test and then continuity test. There is another important test you must do before supplying power to the installation, and that is insulation resistance test. That test seeks to ensure that the insulation on your wires are very good and they can withstand the amount of current and voltage that flows through the wires. But I already have a comprehensive video on how to do that test already, and so I have shared all the links under this video. You can refer to them to know how to do insulation resistance test. And some of these tests are very, very important for safety and for the proper functioning of the wiring. Now, I must state, and you must take note, that when it comes to continuity test in an electrical installation, what I have shown in this video is just an aspect of it that helps us to identify the various wires in the wiring before we connect the accessories. Now, there is an aspect of continuity test that we do on all the circuit protective conductors in the wiring and then all the ring circuits in the wiring. And that aspect has to do with our power circuits or the sockets that we wire in the wiring. And so in another video, I will explain how to carry out continuity test on the circuit protective conductors in the wiring and then how to carry out continuity test on a ring final circuit in an electrical wiring. If you find this content interesting, I would like you to subscribe and share with other friends who would also benefit from it. Thank you very much for watching this video. Stay connected. See you again in the next video.